Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Invisible Not Broken. I have a wonderful guest who I pretty much kidnapped the first time we talked on the phone. I think we were on the phone for about an hour and a half chatting. This is Rebecca, and she comes with the usual encyclopedia amount of things wrong. I was trying to come up with a word for like when you have letters together and they make an acronym, an entire encyclopedia of acronyms. So Crohn's, fibromyalgia, CFS, and you can start talking from there.
Hello, well, thank you for having me on.
I am really glad to get another chance to chat with you. It was crazy how much we had in common, from like ballet backgrounds to being sick kids. Like,
Yeah, I know. I think we were on the phone for I think 55 minutes when we kind of were just having our initial, do you want to come on the show chat? And then I was like, oh my God, it's almost been an hour.
yeah, so warning
Um,
everyone, if you do get me on the phone, I might actually kidnap you for an entire hour just chatting.
no, it was lovely. It was lovely hearing about your background. But yeah, I've had quite a long health journey. I've just turned 32 and I've been unwell since I was 15. Um, so all those letters that you were talking about have manifested over the years. It started with chronic pain, which, well, I was actually a dancer. I was a ballet dancer. I was training at a very elite level. I had to get surgery on both my ankles. And to this day, I believe that's the reason that I got unwell. I was a tiny little thing. I reacted to the general anesthetic, and everything just went wrong after that. I was a very healthy, athletic kid. Obviously, I was training. Yeah, my body started to shut down. So it started to show in the form of chronic pain, which we thought was an injury with ballet. And we went down the roads that you would as an athlete, with the physical therapy and the physio, and nothing got better. It actually got worse when I stopped dancing and took rest. So looking back, that's inflammatory conditions that were beginning in my body, and then that progressed into chronic fatigue, my gut shutting down. Yeah, the chronic pain was horrific, and for a girl of 16, 17 who had lost her life, had lost her dream, had left school, because I had left school to pursue this and was doing homeschooling. I'd flipped school and ballet around. I was dancing all day and doing school at night. So I lost that, and that progressed into mental health issues, as you and all your listeners know, kind of are the nice, not nice cousin to our illnesses. It's the loneliness, it's the depression, it's the anxiety. Yeah, and then my gut decided to go, as most of us do, because the gut's kind of everything. If your body's off, your gut goes. And I was diagnosed with Crohn's 6 years ago. So it's been a long, I've been unwell for about 18 years, but it's been a progression of all these other kind of breakdowns of my body. So the chronic pain is less so now. I still am in pain, but predominantly it's Crohn's disease and all the associated things with that.
It's amazing to me, like the deals we make as we get sicker, where it's like what constitutes us as chronic pain is not your biggest issue means that there's something else that has gotten really bad. Like,
Yes.
it's so crazy. Like, anyone in chronic pain, even at a level 3 or 4 constantly who isn't used to it, that's a big deal. But then all of a sudden it's like, but my stomach is imploding. So that chronic pain is not the biggest issue anymore. It's not like it got better always. It's sometimes like, well, there's this other thing that's so much worse over here.
100%. It's that when the chronic pain was that I couldn't get out of bed. But the depression was worse. And then, when I couldn't start digesting food, I mean, I just couldn't, and I was throwing up. And I knew that Crohn's, looking back, had been bubbling for many years, but it was not until I actually collapsed and couldn't get out of bed. Although it took them a long time to work out it was Crohn's. I was 25 at that stage, and I got turned away from the ER twice because they thought I just had a stomach flu. And a couple of my doctor friends have confirmed to me that they kind of pin younger women as hysterical in a way. It's like, all right, darling, you just go now. You just got a stomach flu. Just have some rice and chicken soup and you'll be fine. But I couldn't leave bed. I was losing weight. I was throwing up. I had all the other, delightful symptoms. And then it was only when I started bleeding that they actually took notice. I was like, no, you shouldn't be bleeding out of that part of your body.
Yeah, that would definitely be a
Yeah.
at least concrete sign. So we're separated by a few decades and a continent. And so I'm really curious how it was for you to get diagnosed. It sounds like from what you're saying, it's not that different from what young women, even of my generation over here in the United States, go through, of this weird idea that even though women's pain threshold is significantly higher than men's, and I'm seriously not beating on men, this is not that kind of talk, but I will say scientifically, women do handle chronic pain better. And we still get told that we're being hysterical. Like, the joke with my family is my dad can sneeze and his doctor's like, we will get every test known to man for you. And my mom could be like hobbling everywhere. Oh, here's an aspirin, but don't get addicted to the aspirin. Like, it's this weird dichotomy of how women and men are treated. And it's interesting to hear that's the same in Australia, even fairly recently.
Yeah, and I don't think like most of this discrimination is malicious. But it makes you feel crazy. You're like, okay, well, why can't you get up and go to work, or why are you throwing up? Like, just suck it up, Becca. But yeah, once I started bleeding, my mother was like, no, you are taking her and
Yeah.
you are listening to her, and we're getting her into a gastro. And I did all the, they did the colonoscopies, they did the very invasive MRIs, and they actually thought I had cancer for a little while because it shone up of white blood cells. And he's like, I think you have Crohn's disease, but there's a possibility that you might have lymphoma, just for the amount of white blood cells that have appeared. He said it very laissez-faire as well. Like, no, so Rebecca, I was going in to get I was swallowing a pill cam, and I remember I had to go and get the actual camera to get attached. And the specialist pulled me into his office, and he goes, yeah, no, so like we've noticed that there's the part that is diseased. The bowel has shrunk by, I think it was 3 times. So it was just this kind of ulcerated mess. He goes, so we do think it's Crohn's disease, but there is a possibility, because of the amount of white blood cells and all the other medical things he was talking about, there's a possibility that you have lymphoma. I was on the phone to radiology, and I was just sitting there. Like, my mother was in the car just doing laps of the block because she thought I was just going up to get, like a fanny pack attached to the camera, operating thing. And it was just like, oh, okay. He's like, no, but we'll keep talking, and we're gonna. Anyway, I remember getting down, and Mum's like, you got it? And I was like, okay, do you want to just pull over for a moment? There might be a possibility that I have cancer. So that was a really fun, I think that was a few days, and then they went down the Crohn's route and all those horrible medications. But yeah, and I'm laughing about it because I think that's what we have to do. And I do think that I have a keen sense of humor now, and a sharpened sense of humor, because that's what we do. We laugh it off. We go, oh yeah, no, it's fine. Like, I call myself, I'm a vommy person. I vomit a lot. And someone laughed and said, are you serious? Did you just laugh at that? I go, oh yeah, I just vomit sometimes. It's just what I do. And they're like, Becca, that's not okay. And I'm like, okay, that's just, it's just me.
There's so much to unpack there. I mean,
I know, right? I don't have cancer, so that's great.
Well, I was just thinking that's about the only way you could tell someone that they have Crohn's and make them happy. Like, it's.
I know, right?
Maybe it's a philosophy.
You didn't get the big C. You just got another.
The little C that will haunt your life forever.
It'll just make you miserable and make you kind of really feel unattractive and make dating really hard. But it's fine, you don't have lymphoma.
But you don't have lymphoma, so hey, there's that. Well done, you. I was debating whether I was going to go one or two ways. So I'm going to ask you about what it's like to be sick in Australia, because that's a lot of tests. And I'm doing the math in my head really fast, because I'm here in California, and you've moved over here to the United States. No one arrest her. She's here totally legally. Please don't come after her. But I'm just wondering, you're talking about in just one of the tests, at least a house payment, or at least a house. How is that affordable for you guys in Australia? Or do you have that wonderful system set up where your parents didn't have to take out a mortgage for this?
No, so we have universal health care in Australia. We have something called Medicare.
Wow, and that works. What a system.
Yeah, I know, right? So
Hmm.
we do still have private health care as well, and if you're over 30 and you're earning over quite a large amount of money, you do get taxed if you're not in the private health system, which is understandable because they're obviously just trying to remove the burden from the public health system. But you are in Medicare the day you're born, you can get a Medicare card, and uh, basically we've got your back. Associated with my Crohn's is immunity. I have very, very poor immunity, which I'm constantly trying to work on. So I got just a slew of chest infections that would put me in the ER a lot of times, and I would walk out without a bill. I'd get all the x-rays, I'd get a drip and all that type of thing. So yeah, all those things are covered, or if not, you pay a minimal amount. My colonoscopies, the observational surgeries I've had have been covered. So yeah, I think about it. I've been in America now for over 2.5 years, and it's staggering to me. Had this been, 5 to 7 years ago when I was incredibly unwell, I couldn't have afforded it. And I'm lucky that if something goes wrong, I can go back to Australia. I have wonderful health insurance here, but still I pay through the nose, and I still can't really use it because of the co-pays. Yeah, and my fiance's American. Our children will be half American. I'm becoming very engaged obviously I can't vote, but I'm becoming very engaged in the social policy and politics of it. And it makes me so sad. It makes me want to cry. Just people don't want to be unwell. It's not their fault that they become unwell. And I just go, how do they afford this? They don't. They get sick and they die. And I struggle to maintain or manage my Crohn's here as much as I could in Australia, because the complementary therapies and the integrative things are just too expensive here. I can't afford to go get acupuncture. I can't afford to go and get the massages that help with the pain or all sorts of things. So I understand, not getting too political, even though I know you like getting political.
Who, me? I don't know when this actually, I mean, honestly, I will say something really quick because I have a lot of family who listens who do not agree with me politically. I don't understand how this is political. What I'm saying right now, I do not get why this would set me up as being a Democrat or a Republican when I say that every human being deserves the right to have medicine. If they are sick, to have housing. If they are without housing, to have food. If they are without food. And by the way, I'm not a Christian. But everyone who seems to believe this says they are. And I am saying that if you are, listen to what the guy actually said. And this shouldn't be a political issue. You should be on any side of the fence and say human dignity is important. So that's the political message I have that is bipartisan the day before voting. This is when we're recording, everyone. So if I sound a little fiery than usual, I've been yelling for 2 days. So that's why.
Yes, please go vote. I can't vote. Please go vote.
This will be out way afterwards, though. This is going to be out so far after tomorrow, and I have faith in all of us that we'll get it together. But I really wanted you to explain the healthcare system, because I think in the United States we have this idea that socialized healthcare means that it is a free-for-all for everyone, and that is very hard to sustain, impossible to sustain if you are using Americans' way of pricing medicine. That's another episode. But it is much more sustainable when you're asking the people who can pay into the system to pay into the system. Absolutely. At an affordable rate. That's possible.
The motto I generally say about Australia is that if push comes to shove, they've got your back.
Yeah, that's crazy to me, because I feel like here it's like pushing you off a cliff. Oh, you're sick? Well, guess what? Your credit rating is going down. Oh, you're sick? You're too sick to pay your student loan bills? Well, that's going to completely destroy you for the rest of your life. Like, it feels like the second you start to stumble in the United States, you get, like, smashed. But I didn't want to do this all day. I had so much more to ask you about, and I will so easily slide off the rails onto this. So you are still very young. You are dealing with this as a young woman, and you're talking about things that I know here in the United States, I don't know how it is in Australia, but it's stuff that usually is things that are, stomach issues are usually played for laughs, or they're embarrassing. And I can't imagine what that was like at your age, dealing with that and dating and friends and sleepovers.
It was really hard, and I look back now, so I was diagnosed when I was about 25, 26. It's all a bit blurry, but as I said, the stomach issues were bubbling away for a very long time. And, when you start going out as a young girl, well, we can go out when you're 18 in Australia.
Oh, my
Um,
son is probably on the next plane right now.
uh, yes. So, there was a lot of times where I just went, no, I'm not sick. And I just threw caution to the wind. I'm like, I'm going out till 5 a.m. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But I would pay for it. I would pay for it in all sorts of ways. And yeah, even just going on dates or, meeting someone and kind of having to explain, oh, by the way, oh, I can't eat that. It starts, that's how it starts with me, because there's a lot of foods that I can't eat that make me very unwell. And it's funny in LA when I go out to restaurants, I'm like, I'm not one of those people that say they can't eat this and then they do that and it's just trendy. I'm like, I'm actually sick and it will make me very unwell. And it actually I have been poisoned by a restaurant here when I was like, no, I can't have dairy. This makes me very unwell. And the waitress just, she didn't know, and I got a flare up from that. But anyway,
I can hear Kiro screaming in agreement from the future when he listens to this episode. That's his biggest pet peeve, is the idea like that people would assume that, or people faking allergies or upplaying things that aren't allergies but are food preferences. Because and wait, let's not take the blame onto people doing things. Let's put the blame where it belongs, on wait staff who want to prove a point, because that's happened here in the United States just last year. Someone wanted to prove a point that the girl ordering the diabetic soda was not diabetic and gave her a regular soda, and she ended up, I don't remember if she died or not, but that did happen here. So I'm going to put this squarely on the people who are doing bullshit. It doesn't matter if the person has a food preference or it's an allergy. If they say no, it's just no. Let's just generally get that through our society's head.
Absolutely.
Can you tell it's an election week? I can't stop on talking points. I will stop. I will try. But you also...
No, it was really hard, and my fiance is very protective of me. So I think between us, we had asked 7 times because it was a puree or something. Anyway, just things like that. So that's where it starts with me getting into relationships in any form, whether it's a friendship or it's a man or whatever. It's very challenging, and you feel like you have to. There's little post-it notes or little kind of footnotes. Oh, by the way, I can't do this. Or by the way, and it's this constant need to feel like you have to validate or explain yourself. And I kind of made a motto this year. It was like, no, 2018 is the year I stop validating myself, stop validating my existence, stop apologizing for who I am. It's a constant thing, and I it said it's been 18 years of dealing with something that you kind of have to go, oh, by the way, no, I can't do that. It sucks.
I mean, you bring a point up, like I say, I'm always singing for my supper because I rely on people I can't really drive very much. So it's like, well, I better be entertaining during that drive. I better be on. I better be funny. I better be something to justify why someone's taking their time to be with the sick girl. Like, it's weird. You really put that into some good words there.
Yeah, and that thing of, someone making food for you that you can eat. Which again, obviously making sure there's no wheat in that dressing, I appreciate that. But it's also, you don't have to go above and beyond. Like, it's not you just saying, oh, no, I don't eat that. It's like, no, actually, that will make me throw up. So, yeah, it is. And I think that ties in with being the sick girls, with being the lesser, with all that type of rhetoric that goes around that, because we haven't been able to necessarily achieve the things that we've wanted to do, or we've been, oh, sorry, I can't come home in bed, or I can't take that job, or I can't go on that holiday. And you feel like you have to just go above and beyond, where it's just, I think it just comes with age, where it's just like, I'm not explaining anymore. I'm just not doing it. And it's hard. It is hard. And I think it's a woman thing as well, because we're brought up to be givers. We're brought up to serve and apologize. And, there's all this whole thing going around now. Like, women just say sorry all the time. Like, I read this post on Instagram and it was like, stop saying sorry for things. Like, I'm one of those people, if someone bumps into me, I say sorry to them. And I'm like, what is that? They bumped into you. So, yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. But it's hard. It's hard not to feel less than or fall into the victim of being the sick girl, which is something I really, really try and fight, because my illness, my disease, or whatever you want to call it, is not my identity. It's part of me. I'm not ashamed of it, but it's not who I am. I'm not Rebecca Fawcett who has Crohn's disease. I'm Rebecca Fawcett. I'm Australian. I have a journalism degree. I had 3 sisters. All those things, and I do find that sometimes if you fall victim to that, or you let yourself become it, it can become quite overwhelming and kind of get in your brain there. And that's not, again, to dismiss that we don't have challenges, or that we don't deal with stuff on the daily, but there is so much more to us than our illness, and I think that's something that needs to be nurtured a lot.
So how was your family support during the time that you were sick?
I have the most amazing family in the whole entire world. I think you'll make me cry because I
Oh,
just,
I'm
I
so
live
sorry
far
you're
away
so
from them
poor.
now. Yeah, I'm one of 4 girls. I'm the third of 4 girls. We're incredibly close. I have the most amazing, generous parents. Oh, I'm gonna cry.
I did not mean to make you cry. I'm not Barbara Walters. We could switch on over to another
No,
topic.
no. It's just they have been.
But can I say, I hope my daughter like loves me as much as you are thinking about your mom, because I hope she's like that.
Oh, I'm sure she does. You're an extraordinary person.
Aw. Well, geez, make me cry. We're just gonna sit here and cry on this. This is the crying episode.
We're
Even
all
before
emotional.
election results, we're all emotional right now. It's
Highly charged atmosphere we're living in.
yes, especially here in California, we are all biting our nails down to the nubs.
But no, they're incredibly generous. They've going back to, my parents allowing me to leave school to pursue ballet. I was very talented at it, so they obviously weren't just letting me quit. Well, not that I quit, but I put my focus into that. To when I got unwell, to just trying everything possible, because if we knew what we knew now, I think a lot of my illness could have been curtailed, or the suffering could have been curtailed. But you know, mum taking me to all the doctors, to all the different therapies, to the psychologist, to the psychiatrist, to just the financial output, and even if we have universal healthcare, it's still expensive, and it's still, yeah, to my sisters, never making me feel less than, to my father loving me and giving me hugs, and the 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 sympathy that I get, and the understanding, and I'm in the kind of back end of a flare at the moment, and just the outpouring of love I get from them, going, I don't know how you get through your day. I'm so sorry, and we're going to help you get better. And I know from a lot of friends who are unwell or have dealt with things in their life, they don't have that family support. I don't know what I would do, because there were times where I couldn't work at all, especially when I was first diagnosed with Crohn's. I was lying on my parents' couch, getting sicker and sicker, with no money at all. And yeah, that would have been hard enough in Australia. I put myself in America, and that's how people end up on the street.
Yes.
So I'm incredibly blessed, and I am grateful every day for my family and my friends, but my family especially. So that's why I'm getting a bit teary, because I don't live in the same city as them anymore. We have a big Pacific Ocean separating us. So it can be tricky, especially when, the past few weeks when I have been flaring, where you just have to go inward, and it gets quite lonely. Sometimes you just want a hug from your mum, or your mom, as you would say.
Still, and I'm middle-aged, I still want a hug from my mom to make it okay. So I'm going to ask you a question that will help out all of the parents of chronic illness people everywhere, and all the friends of people who have chronic illness. What are the things that they did that really helped? Like when you got diagnosed, when you're at the most vulnerable, what did they do that you're like, thank God you did this? Or even when you're in a flare right now, what does your fiance do, where you're like, this is why we're getting married. This is why you're my person.
Yeah, he's a whole other amazing talking point. Make you feel safe. Make you feel safe. Even though you think it's not going to be okay, tell them it's going to be okay, because it will be. It will be, one way or another. It's going to be okay. Say that you're there for them. Say that I hear you. Often people who are suffering or who are unwell, they don't want necessarily you to roadmap the path to success or the path to healing at that acute moment. They want a hug, and they want to be told that they're heard and they're seen and that they are enough. Even in their most acute, flared, sick state. Safety is a big thing for me, especially when I was on a lot of the really strong medications like the steroids and stuff that just made me loopy. I can't go on them anymore. I actually got suicidal on them. Safety was a big thing. I'd actually have to have people to encase me with a hug and say, you're safe, you're safe, you're safe. And even now, my fiance, just with the flare when it was starting and it was getting really bad, I wasn't on any medication, but he said, you're safe, I've got you. And I think that's a really, really powerful thing. It may not be that you've got millions of dollars or that they know how to cure your particular disease, but it's support, it's community. And I think that's the biggest thing with people with chronic illnesses. It's that lack of community, because you're pulled away from work, you're pulled away from school, you're pulled away from hobbies or any of those things that make you feel safe and supported. And I know it's a big burden on families and friends, but those simple words of like, I've got you or it's okay are incredibly powerful.
So you're going to make me cry. Because when you're pulled away from all of those things, you're also being pulled away from anything you put your identity into. If you put your identity in what kind of person you are at school, or you're putting your identity into who you're going to be after school, or who you're going to be during this art process, that's been one of the hard things that I've had to go through the last, 10 years or so, is giving up the business, giving up my artistic outlets, and they keep changing based on whether my wrist decides to stay in place or not. So you're also looking at this massive crisis of identity. But you are so smart, because on the verge of starting your life, you already have the basic down on how you stay married, which is seeing and hearing someone. That's like, from an old married broad here, I will tell you that is how you raise kids. That's how you have a relationship with anyone, anywhere, is that the reason things get heated is someone feels unheard or unseen. And so you've already got that figured out. You're pretty awesome. Good job on your mom and dad.
It's been many years of therapy as well.
I was raised by a therapist, so I am right there with you.
No, seriously. Shane and I, my fiance, we have a thing where we just say to each other, I see you. And it's almost like a reset or an earthing and a grounding of just, I see you. I see how hard you're working, or I see what you're struggling with. And again, just those simple words really make it, it's almost like a warm hug of words. But yeah, communication is key. But my goodness, I get moody. I'm sure you're the same. Sometimes you can be as positive or as, holistic or grateful or whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, sometimes it just really sucks. Sometimes, the past few weeks when I've been crippled over in like gut-wrenching pain and I've been throwing up, or it sucks and I'm moody. And especially if you have gut problems, 70% of your serotonin is in your gut. There's a gut-brain connection there that is getting studied, which I'm so excited about because it's such an amazing frontier. But, like, if your gut's not happy, like, you're not going to be happy. So sometimes I'll just say to you, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to snap at you. I'm just feeling really unwell right now. And he'll go, it's okay, I see you.
The words, I was wrong, I am sorry, are like and I love you are like the rotating phrases through like any sort of like one-on-one connection with anyone for a long, like I say to my kids all the time, wow, I'm sorry, I screwed that up. That was where I totally messed up here. I will say it to my husband. He gets many phone calls of, I was being a total bitch. I'm sorry, you didn't deserve that. Yeah. I mean, I always come around. He's just better at marriage than I am, so there's that.
Shane's a bit better at that too. I have to work on I'm sorry a bit more.
That's fair. That's good. So I wanted to talk to you because I actually have never seen you until right now. And some of the stuff that you're talking about when we're walking makes so much more sense to me when you're talking about like the thing I deal with too, which is but you look fine. Yeah. But you look great. And I'm looking at you going, you look like the models I used to hire for ad campaigns. So I can only imagine for you, like, what that's like, that people look at you and they're like, but I want to look like you. You must be so healthy. You look fantastic. Like, how is that for you? Where you're like, another, like, justifier. Like, I feel like that's almost an insult when someone's like, but you look great today. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, no, that was a compliment. That was a compliment. I've got to remember that was a compliment.
Yeah. And it's trying to step back and go, they're not being malicious. They're not pegging you down. But you kind of go, like when people say that to me, you kind of feel like you want to do a laundry list of, well, no, actually, I'm just wearing some tinted moisturizer right now, and that glow on my skin is actually artificial. I had my head in the toilet at 3 a.m. I'm on painkillers right now. But then you go, Becca, you're validating yourself. But again, it's that thing of like, no, but I want them to know that I'm not okay. But then why do you want them to know that you're not okay? Because it took a lot of effort to get out of the house right now.
That I
it's
see
this,
you,
like,
I hear you. Yes.
No wonder we're all absolutely loopy. We've just got this like internal rhetoric that people don't have to deal with. It's like, okay, I get up for work, I go. Again, everyone has their challenges. Absolutely not saying that or undermining anyone else, but
no, but
it is really hard. It is, and I think a lot of it actually has to do with I eat very well. I have to eat very well. I can't eat a lot of the crap that people shouldn't eat, but do anyway. I think that shows through. Especially when I was very unwell, I had an amazing integrative doctor helping me, who was balancing the strong meds with, integrative holistic stuff. But yeah, it can be very, very undermining when it takes all your effort to get out of the house and someone's like, oh, I don't know what's wrong, you look great.
And in this culture, we put such a value on one particular look and one particular body type, and that's really coming through my head right now because I'm raising a daughter who is of the age that she's watching all the YouTube and she's seeing all these body types, and that's really hard because there's one particular thing that everyone's being told that's what you should look like. So I keep trying to talk to her about, we're looking for strength and health. Like, that's where your focus needs to be on, because that's an unending pit when you, like, because I was in ballet, but I don't look like you. My problem was always that I was built like Jessica Rabbit, and that was never going to change. So the body type was always like the first and foremost. Yeah.
I was a stick, and then I didn't get my period till I was 19. This was all to do with being unwell, not ballet. And then suddenly I just got these breasts that just
like, what happened to my balance?
No, seriously, it was crazy. And just talking about identity and stuff, because I was teased at school for not having anything, being flat chested, and then I lost ballet, and then my body really changed, and I got really unwell, and it was a lot. But yeah, raising daughters is. Shane laughs that he thinks that we're going to have four girls, and I go, I hope not, because I think I only have the energy to raise one girl in this current climate.
I have one of both, and they are amazing humans, and I am so grateful for both of them. They challenge me every single day, and so the only thing I will say before you have kids is just be ready to have a mirror put in front of you with your best and your worst every second of your life from here on out. Like, that's that's the takeaway. You will go through the most intense therapy that no therapist could ever put you through. It's pretty extreme, but wonderful. So one of the things I was trying to get through was, I'm so sorry, my words. It was a long night last night of trying to figure out which painkiller was actually going to let me sleep. So it was
brain fog
brutal.
is such a nice friend, isn't it? Oh, we love brain fog.
I am so grateful to all of our listeners who do not seem to yell at me. At least they're not writing me any emails about, like, God, woman, you just cannot keep an interview going. So at least some of you guys seem to understand that, like, I'm so much smarter than I come across, I think is how that should play
I know,
out.
I get that. I sometimes I'm like, I come across as the biggest just dummy, and it's like, no, my brain, the synapses is just, I can see it, they're just not connecting because there's just a lot of fog in there.
I remember I was going to ask you about. So I had just done an interview with Eva, who sometimes co-hosts on the show, and we were talking about what it was like to be sick as teenagers and young women and how that framed what our life decisions were. So you lost ballet. What did this do about school for you? Like, how did this, being sick at such a formative age where you're just trying to decide who the hell you are anyway and then start your dreaming, what did that skid change reinforce for you?
Yeah, so it changed a lot, actually. So I didn't actually finish traditional schooling. I didn't go to grade 12. I think had I not been unwell and ballet just didn't work out, I would have gone back to school. So that period of, it was probably 17 to 21 was just a haze of poor health and just working odd jobs here and there when I could, and just trying to come to terms with this body that was just not doing what it was told and getting sicker and sicker, but just not finding any answers or support. And then I I call it, I'd lost my stage. I lost my ballet stage. I lost my creative outlet. And I was like, okay, well, what can you do? I'm smart. I still want to go to university, I think. This took me a long time to work through, and I'm someone who, when I'm working out ideas, I don't actually talk about it. I internalize. Maybe I need to work on that too. Shane will probably agree with that. But anyway, I went the long way round and started university when I was 21 as a mature age student. That's what your class says is 21. I decided to do journalism, or major in broadcast journalism, because I was like, oh, well, I have a voice. I'm inquisitive. And going to university for me was so much more than a degree. It was about that community that I'd lost. But because I didn't have my grade 12 leaving certificate that we call the HSC in Australia, I had to do so much to get academic credits. I had to do all the essays and all the work experience and all the things to prove that I was getting that 1 of 14 spots that I got. I got that 1 of 14 spots that was designated for mature age students, and it was, I got into one of the best journalism degrees in Australia, and it was hard. It was very hard, and especially with journalism, there's a lot of practical work. They push you out there like you're young journalists. So yeah, it was challenging, but I grit my teeth and I said, no, I've fought tooth and nail to get here, and there's no way that I'm not doing this. But it was very hard, the workload. I had to get special dispensations a lot of the time, which played into me going, you're weak, you're a failure. Why do you need special needs help? But I did it, and I came out with a broadcast journalism degree without getting my HSC. So it's possible. I call myself Miss Detour. There are ways, and I think that ties back into what you say to people who are sick. It's like, okay, well, you haven't done this particular, you haven't gone down this particular straight path, but you know what? There's so many other paths, and they're scenic. They've got bumps. But I'm sure there's some beautiful coastal views, and I'm sure there's some beautiful forest views that you go through, and you'll get there. And what is there, though? And I think that's assessing that as well. What's success? What are the things that I want, and defining that, and not seeing your illness as something that pulls you back, but it may just be something that you get in 5 years instead of 3 years, if we're talking in terms of a degree. But yeah, it really stole my identity. I was going to be a prima ballerina of the Royal Ballet in London. I was told that from a very young age, which I think is dangerous because children don't know what the real world is. But I was a very, very like fast projectile to that, but my body decided otherwise, and here I am.
So how has your definition for success changed?
A lot, and it's something that I'm doing a lot of personal work on right now, because I am of an age where, people are getting married, they're having their children, they are, at the upper echelons of whatever career, because, if you don't have the challenges in life, you go to college, you get the job, you do that, which to me sometimes sounds a bit boring. But if you compare me on paper to some of my friends or just, peers, I am quote unquote behind. I am. But especially since moving to LA, I have to make sure that I don't compare Sydney Becker to LA Becker. And even then, Sydney Becker was behind a lot of her peers too. I think, I want to have a baby, but right now that's not possible. I'm not physically there right now. We're not there mentally. We've got other things we want to do as a unit, as Becca and Shane. And it's releasing that, going, actually, you don't want that right now. And that doesn't mean that you're not at where you should be. It's where you are, and where you are is perfect. It's all perfect. And it's going to come when it comes. And when it comes, you'll be ready for it. And I can put that in all aspects of my life. It's hard, and there's many pages of my journal that are like, no, you are enough. You are enough.
Did you read that book?
No, I haven't. Is there a book called You Are Enough?
There is a book called You Are Enough, and anyone who knows me knows I am a snarky ass bitch, and I couldn't even do Lamaze because I was too snarky to be in a class where someone told me what to do. It was never going to be okay, and so like self-help books are not my bag. I can't, I don't. It's not my thing. Someone forced this on me, and I'm really glad they did. And it was this whole book called You Are Enough, and I sat there and openly cried while reading it. It was intense. It was actually an Australian who actually got me to read that book.
Oh, well, we're great. So there you go.
Yeah, well, Australians are awesome, and I could listen to you talk all day, so that's fine too. But the whole premise is that you are enough, exactly who you are, exactly what you are right now. That's enough, and I've been like, that's practically tattooed on me, along with the you don't owe anyone pretty. Like those two things are like, I'm just trying. Like pretty is not a rent you pay to be in this world. Because that's been hard with like the new medications are changing my body. They're changing
Yes.
how I look. My ability to do a makeup routine obviously did not happen today. So it's been very strange to have gone from being a very vain teenager to being like, I put on jeans today. Jeans,
Yeah.
they button. I didn't wear, I mean, granted, this is still a pajama top, but I'm actually wearing jeans right now. It's impressive. I went away from pajamas.
I haven't worn anything with flair right now. It's muumuus or stretch pants. Like,
Yeah.
Some of them are cute, but even then, oh no, a zipper, you don't come near me.
Well,
No.
yeah.
That's totally it. It's working out what your bar is and going, hey, you did that. You got out of the house, and that might be just absolutely just stock standard for Joe Blow down the block. But for you, who was up all night dealing with medications or whatever you're dealing with, that's huge. And pat yourself on the back for that. And I think that's often what we don't do because we are now with social media and just being so connected, bombarded with what we should be or what we should be doing. And you see this with young mothers, and I see this with a lot of my friends. It's like, you should be this and you should be that and you should be breastfeeding your kid and you should be, and it's like, oh God, someone just come in and let that woman have a shower and hold their child.
Oh my God, yes. When did we get so judgmental about everything? Like, your job as not being the mom is to make the mom feel happy and safe and take the baby, let her shower, let her do something. But it does bring up that interesting concept of what do we owe the world as rent? Like, what do we owe, if anything? And when we're like women, I feel like or female identifying, however you want to identify female, is this idea that we owe that pretty above and beyond everything else. Like, I can't tell you how many times when I'm making political statements, someone will go, well, you're ugly. I'm like, maybe, but who cares? Like, that has nothing to do with what I'm saying. It's almost like we can erase the voice if someone is pretty or ugly. But the looks are like what it goes to. And it's a very strange thing. And then it's like you're sick and you have no control over your body or what happens. And that's like, okay, so now I'm not paying the rent literally.
Yeah.
The hard discussion I had to have with my daughter was like, I'm sorry, I want to be this kind of mom. This is the mom I'd wanted to be, but I'm too sick to be consistent. And that's like a big thing in parenting, is being consistent. And I'm like, that sucks for you and your brother. That's awful. There's a lot that I screwed up because I was too sick or too tired to do what was supposed to be done. So it's like this constant, like, okay, well, so what am I giving out? Like, what is that we are doing? And that's such a guilt point, depending on what time of the month it is, depending on how sick I am, depending on how the last few weeks have gone. But those are questions that have been going through my diary.
And I think from your perspective, and this is coming back to giving yourself a pat on the back, you do the best you can with what you have at hand. And guilt, I'm marrying into a Jewish family, so I'm getting a crash course in guilt. It's
You can talk to my mom. She can tell you all about marrying into a Jewish family.
Oh my goodness, they're a hoot.
Yeah, super fun.
It's hilarious. But I think guilt is there for things when you've robbed a bank. I think you should feel guilty about that. But in terms of you with your kids, you've done the best you could do with what you had at hand, and being racked with guilt that they didn't get what you wanted, that's just making you sicker. That's just zapping energy and mental fortitude that you need to get through your day. And I bet they adore you, and I bet you're the best mother in the whole entire world.
Oh, I'm just going to record this and just like keep playing this on playback every morning. You're good.
But I think that's the thing. People with chronic illness, we don't give ourselves the props that we need to do a lot of the time, and we're different, absolutely. But does it mean that we're worse? No, it doesn't at all. And it may actually make you more empathetic. It may make you more compassionate, and I know it has for me. You understand what suffering is. You understand what pain is. You understand what missing out on things are. Uh, I know I am the person I am today because of what I've gone through, and I know I bring that into my relationships. That people are like, Becca, you make me feel okay, and maybe that's because I just want people to make me feel okay. Maybe that's some sort of thing, but yeah, I think coming back to what we owe, I think it's being a kind person. Really, I think as we say in Australia, just don't be a dick. Basically, be a nice person, and genuinely ask how someone is and listen. And I don't think people do that. Really, I think people listen to respond. They don't listen to listen. And I know I've wanted that a lot, especially on this journey of feeling quite isolated and unwell.
So what do you want people to understand about like your daily life?
That it can be bloody hard.
I do love how you Australians swear. It's perfect.
Oh, we like someone should start a podcast called Australian Slang and Swearing.
People would just sit and listen to it. I would.
It'd be quite funny. You'd have to get these two like Aussie blokes doing it. But yeah, again, it's that grappling of like, well, why do you need them to know everything? But I think maybe coming back to why I have to cancel or why I can't come to things. I'm not a flake. And when I say I'm in bed, I'm actually in bed. And when I say I'm housebound, I'm actually housebound. And me like walking around the block, if I've been able to go for like a little block walk these past few weeks, that's been bloody huge for me. Yes, I may look well, but I'm not. But I've got my brave face on. I think I told you if I'm wearing bright lipstick, you know that I've got my warrior face on. I often do that for work.
MAC red is mine. Yeah.
Yeah. I like NARS. They're very, very long lasting. I've got a bright one.
I have one that I wore for my wedding, and it lasted the entire day into 3:00 in the morning. Did not have to reapply. Go NARS.
Yeah, and I think just having you don't have to know Crohn's. You don't have to know everyone's thing, but just taking what I say for face value and not questioning it. And I think I have one particular person in my life who thinks that the way I am and the way I feel is very tied with my emotions, which, yes, anxiety plays a big part in all chronic diseases, especially stomach-related ones. But you're in a better environment now. Why are you still sick? And I have to go, well, I'm sick because I've been on 2 international flights. I've moved house. I've done this, I've done that. But also, do you know what? I have an autoimmune disease, and sometimes it just decides to not be happy with me. I think just taking things at face value. I'm not well. Great. Okay, Bex, I'll give you a call next week and see how you are. Or is there anything I can do for you? You're unwell. Do you need anything? Do you need me to go to the shops for you?
That's helpful. What's not helpful, at least for me, is my aunt's cousins, dog walkers, goldfish sitters, tried this pill that I am now selling. And I think it would make you all better. Like, I can't. If you don't have like a medical degree and I didn't make an appointment to see you, please don't give me medical advice. Please. Yeah. I'm begging you. But like calling me up and asking me, can I do something for you? And then actually having like a suggestion for that, because my brain fog will actually stop me from thinking of what someone can do for me. Like, hey, so has your daughter been outside in a while? Or dogs? Do you want me to walk your dogs? I could do like, I'd be all over that. Like, that's such a good suggestion.
The unsolicited advice is, I think that's a life mantra that everyone needs to adhere to. If someone doesn't ask for advice, don't give it to them. Just don't, as well-meaning as it is. Because, look, I have a wealth of health knowledge. You know, I said, it's been 18 years. I've been to every doctor and I haven't been to every doctor, but I've been to a lot for many ailments. I know a lot about health. If you ask me, I'll tell you what I've been through and I tell you what works for me. I will never put that on anyone. If you don't ask me, it's great.
And if you're selling something, don't Don't.
Oh my
Just
God,
don't.
I've never had that. Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
I have
That,
lost so many friends because they started some nutrition like pyramid scheme and like you can't talk to
oh,
them again without them being, but if you're just on this, it would be better. It's like, oh God, just
yeah,
out.
you
So,
actually have
yeah.
no idea.
No, no. And the idea that I get better is really cute too. I'm like, this is in my DNA. Like, there's really no vegetable that's gonna. Acai berries are not gonna change my DNA. It's just not how that that plays
Yeah,
out.
it's undermining, isn't it? I think that's the what I was trying to say. Don't undermine
That's good.
and
Yeah.
don't have to understand it, but take what they're saying at face value and don't undermine and ask so many questions that one is just exhausting and two makes the person feel they have to validate that they're unwell because sometimes we just want flashing neon signs saying Crohn's disease or, whatever you're dealing with. Don't talk to me. I'm going to bite your head off because I'm in, like, feels like someone's stabbing my tummy. Like,
I just started a line of T-shirts that answers what happened to you, and it's just like silly answers, like alien invasion, fight with pirate. I'm gonna start wearing these all the time, just because I'm always either in a cane or in a wheelchair. Like, I'm so tired of like trying to come up with something quickly off the
yeah.
top of my head when I'm in pain. I'm like, I just have a T-shirt that will say it. That'll make it
And,
easier.
and that's a whole other level that I can't appreciate. Like, I've obviously had, when my back or my pain is bad, but I don't have people coming up and saying what's wrong with you, and I have such respect and admiration for, my brother-in-law was in a very bad skiing accident, so he's had a lot of surgeries and has had acute injuries that have put him in wheelchairs, and I was over there helping out, and the amount of questions are, what did you do? What did you do? And again, all from well-meaning people that are just trying to make you feel seen, but after the third time, oh, I looked at him and go, do you want me to answer for you? Like, it's hard. It is really hard. And I feel like it's, like all pregnant women who don't want to be touched. It's like, just get personal space. Like, you don't need to, yeah.
That's gonna be fun for you. I recommend barbed wire.
Oh
Just
gosh.
that works really well.
Or just stern looks. Just like,
You could probably do it. I unfortunately have Bambi eyes, and I can't do stern if I just can't. I default on annoyingly cheerful, so it's I can't do stern. I try. My kids laugh. It's like, yeah. The dogs are even like, no, she really doesn't mean it. It's okay. She'll fall asleep before she can actually get around to yelling.
there are worse things than having Bambi eyes.
Sometimes, but you do have the huge downside of people don't assume you need help either, where like someone will look at me and be like, oh my God, take the seat now. Like, sit down. You should not be standing, sit. And you might be like in massive gastric distress and no one's going to be like, please, you poor thing, sit down. Actually, here's a heating pad. Here's some tea. Like,
that's a good point. So in Australia, especially in Sydney, all the towns, we have amazing public transport, which is something I've had to experience in LA that they
don't. What? Wait, you have public transport in LA now? When did that happen?
Yeah, it doesn't really go anywhere. They're working on it. But
sorry, everyone who is international and not in California, public transportation in LA is a journey. It's really about the journey because you are never getting to a destination. So
they better smack their act up because they get in the Olympics, and I just keep saying no events are ever going to run on time because no, sorry, they're just stuck on the 405. Yeah, it's fine.
Oh my God.
Usain Bolt's just on the 405. He'll be here in a minute.
I do not miss Southern California at all. Not even a little bit. I'm sorry, everyone who lives down there that is listening. I love you guys. I survived 9 months in Orange County. That was it. 9 months.
See, that's
and I
not
flew
even
home.
in LA.
No, it's not. And it was still, I could not hang. I had to move back home as quick as my little tail could get back up to Oakland.
Oh, you learn the tricks. It took me a while, but yeah, you definitely learn the tricks. But in Australia, I was getting the train and I lived on the harbour, so I was getting the ferry. And I do remember when I was a young girl, and I did have nice gentlemen just give me their seats because they're chivalrous. But I remember one particular time and I was feeling so unwell. But why would an able-bodied 20-something ask for a seat, and you just had to suck it up. And I remember standing there for 45 minutes until I got home. Just, it was in peak hour, so there just wasn't any seats. Going, oh, this is really not fun. And I kind of want to be crouching down crying right now, but I can't. You have to brave face it. And that's one of my masks, and I think that's a lot of our masks. It's the brave face mask. No wonder we get moody, or no wonder we just kind of want to cry a lot of the time. It's exhausting. It's a really exhausting mask to put on.
I think ballet actually trained us so well for that mask.
Yes.
Like, I danced without, I didn't use toe pads at all, so I would dance just bare toe. And I would have bleeding feet, like, coming through the toe shoe, and I'd still have that ballet smile plastered on. Like, I can, unless you are married to me, I gave birth to you, you probably do not know if I'm hurting, like, ever.
Yes, absolutely. And that takes, for me to be entirely vulnerable, takes a long time. I'll tell you that, Crohns. I'll tell you my life story.
Yeah.
But for me to actually let my guard down and cry and say, this is really hard, I can't keep doing this, takes a long time. And then I think that's that thing of going, oh, well, they're going to run away or they're going to abandon me. Because I've experienced that in relationships where people are just so too hard, I can't deal with you, bye. There is that, I'm a burden, I'm not enough, I'm too hard, I'm the sick girl, all those type of things. It is a really hard dance to play or to do. Vulnerability is a tricky one.
It reminds me of Hans Christian Andersen's Red Shoes, of the dancing until you die, like, with that smile. Like, you can just keep faking. This podcast has been like almost my therapy, because I can't afford therapy in this country and state, so I do this podcast. And I've never admitted before publicly that I have depression. I'd never admitted publicly that I have times where this is just really, really hard, and this is not the duck swimming thing where all the feet are going like this and like just smooth waters. Like, there's so much to keep any of this going, and how scary that can be. And this has been hard to be public. Like, I wasn't even public with my husband until we've been best friends for 3 years. Like, it's that vulnerable, that little underbelly.
We almost test people in a way. There's that thing of like, okay, I'm going to give you a little crumb and see how you can deal with that.
Oh my God,
and
yes.
Then if you can deal, all right, I'll give you a little bit more. And I'll tell you, the mental health aspect has been incredibly difficult for me. And even now, Shane, I'll say to things of like, no, well, actually, when the chronic pain was really bad, when I was in hospital, my mental health was actually tested to be worse, which, again, you can understand. I was a young girl. I had lost my dream. My body was absolutely hating me. So, again, not a hard formula there, but, saying to him, no, I was really depressed. I was suicidal. I was on antidepressants. And of late, over the past, 5 to 7 years, it's been anxiety for me. And I'm lucky that I have quite a few close girlfriends who suffer from anxiety. So there's that community there. But there is such a stigma to mental health. And as I said at the beginning of our chat, it goes hand in hand with chronic illness. And it's not hard to see why. Depression is because you're hopeless. You've got nothing to get up for. But often when you're sick, you can't get out of bed. You literally can't get up. You can't go to the things that bring you joy, and you constantly have to pull up from your well and your like pick yourself up. And sometimes I'm like, I just can't pick myself up anymore. My well is empty. My cup does not flow us over.
You're going to have to come back on, and we're going to have to do a panel on mental health and chronic illness, because we have lots to talk about there. Yeah, especially with even with unexpected side effects from medication. We could have and I would really love to have that talk.
I can tell you about a very, very dark day in the hospital where I don't remember any of it, but I wanted to jump off the roof.
So we're at an hour, and we will have that discussion, because I think that's something that we don't get to talk about. It's really scary to bring up with your doctor, especially here where you can get 5150'd, or you can get put on a list that means that it would be hard for you to get your painkillers. There is a lot of things that can go wrong when you talk about your mental health state with your doctors. Not that I'm saying you should not talk about your mental health state, and I am not giving medical advice. Please don't sue me. I don't have money anyway. But these are all things that we all consider, and that's why we have this podcast, is so that if you can people can hear what this is like. And that is one of the concerns when you're having mental health issues. So we actually got way to an hour, way faster than I wanted to. I had so much else, but you are going to come back, and I really appreciate that. So we're a baby podcast. If you hear this and you think that there's someone in your life who should, needs to, or would want to hear this, please share us with them. The nicest thing you can do for us is to go over to iTunes, write an embarrassingly nice thing about us. We do not take ads, so if you go to Patreon and support the sick people, it's expensive being healthy in America. And until next week, be kind, be gentle, and be a fucking badass.